Welcome to today's webinar titled Effective Discipline, Ages 2 through 5. We are thrilled to have Sarah Postma with us today. Sarah Postma studies psychology at Hope College and Western Michigan University. She holds a master's degree in counseling and is a certified traumatic brain injury specialist. She has been practicing for 15 years in the areas of substance abuse, mental illness, and end-of-life care with all ages. She is currently a clinical trainer at Military One Source. Without further delay, I will turn things over to Sarah Postma.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today on our discussion. I will be presenting today not only from the professional perspective, but also from the personal. I am a mother of 2 kiddos myself, ages 10 and about to turn 3 in 2 weeks. So not only have I been through these, I'm also in these stages right now. And while this age group has its challenges, the stage also has so many rewards. First, a disclaimer. The appearance of hyperlinks does not constitute endorsement by the Department of Defense of this website or the information, products, or services contained therein. For other than authorized activities such as military exchanges and morale, welfare, and recreation sites, the Department of Defense does not exercise any editorial content over the information you may find at these locations. Such links are provided consistent with the stated purpose of this Department of Defense-sponsored webinar. So before we get into discipline methods, we will be looking at the stages of development for this age group and spend some time looking at how they think and feel. This is vital to understand because it will color how we as adults need to approach children in order to meet them where they are developmentally. If you're trying to use techniques to shape behavior that is above the level the child can understand, you are doomed to failure, and the child is left confused and feeling insecure. Often, this will lead to an increase in the very behaviors you're trying to minimize, so we need to first understand the mind of a child. Then we will continue the presentation and look at a few techniques to provide discipline, structure, and behavioral shaping. In this section, I will be addressing both teachers and other adults in authority over children, as well as parents at home. We will conclude today with a brief discussion on problem behaviors and when to maybe consider seeking professional help. Please don't see this as a failure if you find yourself here. Every child is different, and every child has something that they struggle with. Sometimes seeking professional help is a sign of amazing parenting because you're seeing your own limits and how much assistance you can offer, and you're doing everything you can to help your child be successful. This is amazing parenting, not a parental failure. A young child's job at this stage is to explore their environment, and they do this in so many ways, some of which are the cutest things you've ever seen, and some of which can be the most disgusting, annoying, or embarrassing things you've ever witnessed or had to clean up. And when we say environment, we also mean their physical bodies. They're seeing how everything works and where all these parts lead and what all their parts do. What do boogers taste like? How many marbles can I fit in my nose? How far can I stretch my face? You just have to laugh sometimes. Kids this age are also exploring the world around them. The sun is bright and warm. Dirt can be dry, and if you add water, it gets squishy and sticks to you. The moon comes out at night-night time. Kids this age need and want to touch and feel everything. They want to know how it all works and what happens when you manipulate this or that. They want to see your reactions to what they're doing. My almost 3-year-old says 1,000,000 times a day, "I want to see," or "What's that?" and often reports what she's discovered in her little 3-year-old way. Sometimes her discoveries are wondrous to me. She has a fresh perspective on the world and how it works. She sees things that I take for granted as adventures and mind-boggling, and it's fun to see things through her eyes. Everything is a new discovery. This is her job right now. It's what she's supposed to be doing. This is how she learns, and it's shaping and training her ability to explore, ask questions, and assimilate new information, and that's an important life skill. Exploring, touching, and interacting with the world around her teaches her in ways we could never fully do as parents and teachers. Think about how you would describe a banana to someone who's never seen one. You talk about color, shape, texture, smell, how they grow, how to peel it, and what it tastes like. But if you give that same kid a banana and let them touch it, feel it, peel it, and eat it, they have a whole different understanding of what a banana is. How better informed do you think that kid is who held the banana versus just heard about one? As adults, we often forget that these kids are living first times daily. Everything is new. Nothing has context or experience to draw on. Exploring, manipulating their environment, and interacting with it is not only a fun way to learn, but also very effective. Another aspect of learning and kids' job at this stage is to test limits. While it's not always fun for us adults, it is an important and vital part of the learning process. Testing limits can include positive things, like how much weight can I carry without dropping it? Can I put my shirt and pants on without help? And how far and how fast can I run before I get tired or fall? Sometimes testing limits involves dangerous things, like how close can I get to the stove while mom and dad are cooking? How high can I climb? Or how close to that moving car should I get? Testing limits also means how they interact with other kids and adults. Can I hit my sister? Does no really mean no? Or can I yell and scream and get it that way? Not only does testing limits teach children social norms and social skills, but it also teaches them how to treat others. It teaches them your family's values and morals. It teaches them how to be safe in the world and at home. It also teaches them what the adult's buttons are and how far and how frequent to push them. This is the not-so-fun part of parenting, and any parent knows kids this age are experts at pushing your buttons. They're not doing it, though, to be mean or vindictive. They don't have that intellectual functioning yet. They're trying to get their needs met and get things that they find pleasurable. It is your job as the adult to not personalize limit testing and button pushing, but instead to understand why it's happening and help meet the need and create pleasurable things and experiences that are healthy for them rather than hurtful or harmful. Part of this process as a caregiver is to allow the child to explore and test limits while setting boundaries for them and their activities. Limits and boundaries should be first set and foremost to keep the child safe from harm. Rules need to be put into place and enforced consistently, and we'll cover that more as we go through this presentation. Kids don't always understand the limits and why they've been put in place. Caregivers need to explain that it is to keep them safe and not to control them or to be mean. Kids understand this. They might not like it, but they do understand. It is also the caregiver's job to allow the child to explore the world in limits. I think too often in our culture we err on the side of protecting kids from everything, and kids are missing out on valuable lessons. I'm not talking about sitting idly by while a child gets hurt, but rather I'm talking about limiting their exposure to negative things and consequences and taking over for the child things that they can do for themselves. Allow children to explore and don't be so quick to intervene if it's not a safety issue. Let them get dirty. Let them feel hurt when another child takes their toy. Let their tower of blocks fall over and show them it's okay. They did it once, they can do it again. These are valuable lessons and create experiences they can pull from and draw on to make other lessons make sense. If you draw a limit of not taking another child's toy and they ask you why, they will have the experience of that hurting their feelings or making them angry. And as the caregiver, you can pull on that past experience and remind them of how it feels. This is the building blocks of empathy, a vital life skill. Without allowing kids to explore and have all sorts of different experiences, positive and negative, we are creating dependent rather than independent kids. We are creating insecurity and low self-esteem rather than a sense of accomplishment, sense of safety, and belief in themselves and their abilities. So now let's take a look at the developmental stage for this age group and get an even better perspective of where these kids are coming from and what they need from us to keep them safe, and encourage their exploration and support them in their job of just being a kid. So what's going on in the minds of our 2 to 3 year olds? That's really the $1 million question, isn't it? Kids this age are developing at a breakneck pace. Not only are they exploring their world and limits, but they're also changing from a squishy little baby into an independent big kid. Their personalities and preferences are being shaped and molded, and they're becoming real little people. It's pretty extraordinary to think back to just a year ago when they were unable to walk or talk. And now, in just a short period of time, they're running, climbing, having real conversations, and making their own choices. They're working hard at mastering their body movements and honing their growth and fine motor skills. You may see them going from unable to hold a crayon or spoon to actually making pictures that look like real things and getting all that cereal and milk into their mouths instead of all over their shirts. They're figuring out how to dress themselves. They may even be learning to go on the potty and ditch the diapers for good. Their muscles are getting stronger. They're learning to catch balls, run farther, run faster, jump and climb. Watching them grow in this area can also be quite comical. I love watching my youngest daughter try to take off her shirt. It gets stuck on her head, or she gets her head out, but her arms are still in the shirt, and she turns all around like a dog chasing its tail, trying to grab her shirt off her back with her arms tied. It's pretty funny. At that point, I ask if she'd like some help, and if she says yes, I help her. Otherwise, I let her try to help herself. Vocabularies are growing. They're learning 50 new words a month. No more mama and dada. They're actually having conversations instead of 1- and 2-word answers. They're asking questions and understanding the responses. It can be quite fun. They're developing their independence. They're making choices for themselves, showing their likes and dislikes and their personality. They're doing things for themselves instead of having adults do everything for them. It's important at this stage to allow kids to have some choices. What shirt do you want to wear today? This one or that one? Would you like the red plate or the blue plate? This gives kids a sense of control over their world and helps them not only feel independent, but also creates a sense of security and safety and begins to build their self-esteem. It also channels that need for independence into healthier options. Kids this age are less likely to challenge every rule and limit you set if they're able to feel some independence and control in other areas. This is also a stage where we adults need to rein in our desire to do everything for them. It might take 10 minutes to get dressed now instead of 30 seconds when mom does it. But unless you want your child at age 10 to still need you to help them get dressed, you'll take the extra time. The dreaded word no and mine, hallmarks of what some call the terrible twos. Personally, I've always found age 3 to be worse than age 2. They think they can do everything themselves, but they just can't. They still need us adults to assist them, but try telling them that. Kids this age don't use the word no like adults do, or at least we should be. Their no could be really a yes, but they want the control. Their no could mean yes, but in 30 seconds. Their no could just be an expression of how they're feeling in that very moment. Allow kids to say no and redirect them when necessary. Here's an example. It's time to go home, honey. No. Okay, I know you're having fun, but it's time to go home now. You can do one more thing, and then we have to leave and go home and make dinner. Would you like to help me measure and stir and lick the bowl? Give them some control, a warning to wrap it up, and then something to look forward to when the fun they're having now is over. The word mine is also used differently by kids than how adults mean it. Kids say mine to indicate they want something right now, not to indicate ownership. When my daughter takes something of mine and declares it hers, I say, no, honey, it's mommy's, but you can use it right now. Let them collect things and call things theirs if it's safe. Set limits on the time or type of item and help them as needed. Don't personalize or get frustrated. If you've already been through this stage, you know that what's the most precious thing to them in this minute will be worthless in the next. If they declare something as mine and you act if it's no big deal, they'll quickly think it's no big deal too. Separation issues are a hallmark of the stage. Every kid feels and expresses this differently and to different degrees, and some for longer than others. We could do a whole presentation on this alone. For extreme reactions and fear of separation, you may want to seek professional help to address it. For less extreme reactions, know that this is normal, and you can think the stage is over and then have it come back. That's normal too. Work to reassure the child that you will come back. Have and keep a routine and stick to that routine. This creates a sense of safety and predictability for the child and reassures them and minimizes the fear of separation. My youngest daughter loves little songs and rhymes. We have one for when we leave her at daycare that says, "Mommy's always come back." She sings a little one-liner song, I sing it back to her, and her teachers at school sing it after I leave. She finds comfort in that, and her teachers have partnered with us on what works for my child, and they've had fewer issues with her after I leave. Everyone wins. Find what works for you and your child, but reassurance and routine do go a long way. This stage also brings a change from playing around others to playing with others. They're making friends for the first time and learning important social skills. Kids at this stage also have little to no sense of time. Another funny story about my almost 3-year-old. When she was younger, we would say things like, "You can do that for a minute, but then we're going to stop." So now she says 4 minutes to all her time limits. We were saying FOR, for, but she heard FOUR, for. So now things like time for bed, she'll say no in 4 minutes, or Christmas is coming in 4 minutes. Kids this age have no concept of time, so saying things like we're leaving in 10 minutes may as well be next year. Try to have a routine for things to keep them on track with time. Here's another example. We get up, get dressed, watch half of the Daniel Tiger show during breakfast, and then we get in the car to go to daycare. They don't know that half the show is 12 minutes, but the routine helps them keep to the expectation and keeps getting up and out the door from taking 3 hours. Kids ages 4 to 5 are continuing to grow at this breakneck pace. They continue mastery over their body and coordination. They can likely catch a ball without letting it hit them in the face or the chest over and over. They can draw a picture of their family that looks like people. They can dress themselves, tie their own shoes, and even cut their own food. They're talking like little people, using more and more words and descriptions, and their conversations are more colorful and meaningful. They can tell you how they're feeling rather than acting on them. They still have that sense of wonder and desire to explore that their younger counterparts do, and caregivers need to continue to let them explore their limits in the world. Kids are more confident and independent, and their personal skills and abilities are really starting to show. Kids this age are playing in groups now, and not just one-on-one. They can play board games by the rules and make up their own games and play with more than one person at a time. They're showing preferences for types of people and personalities. Girls and boys may begin to prefer to only play with their like gender, and they're beginning to identify best friends versus kids they know, and will take time with particular kids. Kids this age have a very vivid imagination. Imagination can be used to make their stuffed animals talk or have a tea party or take a trip in their mind to a far-off place. And when they tell you about it, it seems like they even really went there. Some kids can even be very convincing. My oldest daughter in this stage would say things like, "We went to Africa today and played with lion babies." She wasn't lying to me, despite her story going on and being very detailed. And it seemed as if she actually believed it happened. Magical thinking is part of this vivid imagination. Fairies are real. Having thoughts about something bad can make it happen, and monsters live under the bed. I've often seen parents and caregivers try to use logic to combat magical thinking, but it doesn't work. Kids this age don't have that logical center of the brain developed yet, so they struggle. You have to fight magical thinking with magic. When we went through the monster under the bed stage with my oldest, I gave her what I told her was a magic quilt. I made up an elaborate story about its protective powers and being handed down generation to generation. I told her as long as the quilt was on the bed, no monsters could even see her. She was safe. So one long story, one powerful object, no more monsters or tears at bedtime. She slept with the magic quilt for about a year and then told me she didn't need it anymore. So just like 2 to 3-year-olds, kids this age can have very little concept of time. So just like younger kids, give them routines or context to help them figure out what this whole time thing is. My oldest loved to watch 30-minute shows. When we needed her to take a long trip in the car, we would use the show as a reference. The drive is half a show long. She understood that reference, and it minimized her need to ask over and over how long this would take. Maybe this is obvious, but it's worth mentioning. Kids do not think like adults, so you can't talk to them like adults. The areas of their brain that allow you to think logically and think consequentially, the ability to fully grasp that actions have consequences and predict those consequences before they act, that part of the brain doesn't fully develop in girls until their late teens. And some studies have even shown that for boys, that doesn't develop even into their 20s. If logic and reason and consequential thinking are the basis of your discipline or problem solving, you're doomed to fail. They just don't have the capacity to understand that angle yet. The next bullet is the Achilles heel for many parents. Kids and their annoying behaviors. And there's a lot of them, aren't there? Kids being annoying is unfortunately part of the game. It's developmentally appropriate and even necessary sometimes for them to learn. The classic example of kids in a car ride asking, "Are we there yet? Are we there yet?" They do this because, as we've already discussed, they have no concept of time. Some annoying behaviors are fun, like drawing on the walls, blowing milk bubbles, and smearing peanut butter all over the table. Doing the same thing or making the same annoying sound over and over is how they're learning. Kids this age become very engrossed in their activities. Their brains don't allow them to multitask like adults do or are expected to do. They can only focus on one thing at a time. Partly this is due to brain development, and partly because the amount of information they're processing is huge just for one activity. When kids ignore you because they're engrossed in activity, they're not doing so purposefully. They're just overloaded with all of the sensory information that they're trying to process at one time. Children do not think like adults, but they do have moods like adults. They are feeling little beings, but they have little experience with moods and emotions and need adults to guide them. Ages 2 to 3, caregivers really need to help little ones naming their emotions. Kids need to know what they're feeling and why, and need to have a name for it, so that when they get older, they can not only communicate with you about how they're feeling, but also begin to develop coping skills for managing mood and feeling. When my 3-year-old is obviously frustrated, I ask her if she's feeling frustrated. I don't call it mad. Mad is not the same thing. I help her identify sad versus hurt and lonely versus bored. Ask them if that's how they're feeling and listen to their response and correct the label if it's needed. When a mood or feeling has a label, kids see it as being normal. So the next step is to name your emotion when you're feeling it. If you're getting frustrated in front of them, tell them you're getting frustrated. They are observing your nonverbal behavior, your facial expressions, your reactions, and telling them you're frustrated can help. They begin to put your nonverbals into context. They begin to realize that these feelings are normal and okay, that you have them. They also watch you for coping skills and will mimic what you do. Kids need help to recognize that feelings and moods are normal and that there are ways to manage them that are healthy and ways that are not healthy. They need to understand that mood and feelings can also influence behavior and choices. Children, being little humans full of emotion, rarely think before acting. If they're mad, they hit. If they're sad, they cry. If they're frustrated, they throw things. They're not doing this because they thought, I think right now I'd like to hurt someone, so I'm going to take my hand and hit my friend in the arm. They're reacting to their emotions and making choices based on their mood. That's why labeling and creating coping skills for managing emotion is so vital. When kids act out, help them associate it with a feeling. Identify the root cause of their acting out so that the behavior can stop naturally. Helping develop these skills internally rather than helping them do it is also vital for empowering the child. Children think concretely. They don't understand abstract thoughts and can't have them themselves. They're focused on the physical world and only what applies here and now. Kids this age are literal, and so you need to be very specific and literal in your communication. Children this age also learn through repetition, and this may be a little annoying for adults to watch a kid do the same thing over and over and over, but they are learning, and this is how they learn best. Find the humor in it if it's annoying you, and don't stop their learning process if it can be helped. I feel like we've conveyed much of the points on this slide already, but I do have the tendency to get on my professional and personal soapboxes, so there are a few points that I feel we should be reiterated. First, kids need help identifying and labeling their feelings and need help in learning how to appropriately express feelings. When you're mad, it's not okay to hit. When you're frustrated, it's not okay to talk to mommy like that. Help them identify what they're feeling and validate it, and help them know that feelings are normal. Feelings are not good or bad. They're normal, but they can lead to choices that are not good and good choices. Role model positive coping skills for them when you're feeling a certain way. If you're upset and you slam a door, they're watching and they'll slam the door too. If you say to them, Mommy's feeling frustrated, so I'm going to take a deep breath, count to 10, and put my head down for a minute before I continue. If you show them that, they'll do that. Now, nobody's perfect, and we all vent inappropriately sometimes, but the choices you make do have a direct influence on the choices your child will make in the future and how they express and cope. I like this slide because it reminds me of a poster like this I had in my therapy office when I was working with teenagers. I love the range of emotion and the link between the label and the facial expression. I like to play a game with little kids where I say, let's make a face to match our emotion. I say, let's do happy, and we smile as big as we can. I say, let's do mad, and we scrunch up our face, grit our teeth, and make fists. This helps kids identify feelings not only in themselves but also in others. If they see a friend putting on their angry face, they might know to give that friend a little space, or they might begin to understand that that's why the friend is acting like that right now. It's because they're angry, not because you, their friend, is a bad person. And that's a big lesson for little ones, and adults too, really. Children of deployed parents can have a lot on their little minds. Since they have little concept of time, a 1-year deployment can feel like forever. Since they may have separation anxiety, the parent or caregiver who is still at home with the child may see some extreme attachment issues and fear that that parent will leave too. Since they have very little coping skills, they may be emotionally all over the place. Young children will often act out in situations like this to different degrees and in different ways. It wouldn't be even unusual for a child who is fully potty trained to no longer be interested in going on the potty. If your family is dealing with a deployment and your child is acting out in ways that you feel are extreme, or there's little that brings comfort to your little one, seek out professional help. If that's not the case, please know that acting out is temporary and it will get better. Work hard to provide comfort and normalize their feelings. Let the little one know that you miss the parent too, but they will come back and they are loved. Stick to the household routine and rules. The predictability of that is a great comfort to little ones, and they not only depend on it, but they thrive on it. Help them express their emotions in healthy and creative ways. Maybe have them draw large red scribbles on a piece of paper when they're angry, and then tear up that paper. It's a way to be destructive without actually destroying anything. If they're sad, have them pretend their teddy bear is sad too, and have them act as the parent to the teddy bear. Try to comfort the bear. This will reflect not only what works for them in finding comfort, but also their internal process as they act it out in front of you. Anxiety can be expressed and relieved by physical activity. Set up an obstacle course in the living room or the yard, or race around the block. Exerting physical energy can help alleviate that anxiety. Transitional objects are also helpful and can remind the child of the deployed parent. Military OneSource has a whole host of resources locally and nationally. All you have to do is call and ask us about it. Everything that's been presented so far in this presentation is the foundation to any good discipline methods. If you don't understand how your little one is thinking or feeling, or understand why they're doing what they do, you won't be able to discipline effectively. We need to come from the understanding of all of this first, and then use discipline to shape the behavior. Discipline should be thought of exactly in that way. It's how to shape and mold behavior. It is not a punishment. So let's be clear on that. If you're clear on that, it will change how you approach discipline, and it will change how your discipline is received by your little one. It's not you versus them. It's a partnership between an experienced human and an unexperienced one. It eliminates the child's need to act out against you and the rules, and rather changes their reception of your correction to just that, a correction. It's not judgment. It's not you saying they're bad as a person. It's saying that that was a bad choice. And just like all areas and stages of life, choices have consequences. So how do you do that? First, connect before you direct. Get down on their level. If you're a full-grown adult coming at a 2 to 5-year-old, you're towering over them. That's intimidating and scary. They already know they're in trouble, so don't tower over them and increase their anxiety. That's likely to set off a me versus you feeling and increase the likelihood that they'll continue to act out while you're trying to discipline. Get down so you're physically eye to eye. If it's an especially sensitive correction, you might even want to get so far down that they're looking at you. Maybe sit on the floor and hold their hands as they stand in front of you. Touch them softly. Make eye contact and speak in a soft, gentle tone. Be matter of fact and eliminate all emotion from yourself as you speak to them. Use their name and be serious but quiet. Keep the discipline brief and simple. Tell them what you observed, what choice would have been better in that situation. Help them see that the choice was bad. They are not bad. Use small, short sentences and check for understanding. Have them repeat what they heard you say and correct any misunderstanding. If you're using techniques like timeout, it is only after doing all of this that you should send them to the timeout. Make it a quiet area where you will not be interacting with them or making eye contact with them during the timeout. They need to be quiet and stay in the timeout spot until the timeout is over. How long they will be there? Remember, they have no sense of time, so keep it brief. A good rule of thumb is 1 minute for every year they are old. So if they're 2, it's 2 minutes. If they're 3, it's 3 minutes. After the timeout is over, ask them if they know why you gave them the timeout. Have them tell you in their own words. Then ask them what they should do next time to make a better choice. Have them tell you in their own words and add to it if you need to. Have them apologize to you, give them a hug, and tell them you love them and you're proud of them for listening. Tell them that you will help them make a better choice next time, and they can come to you if they need help. When talking to your kiddo, use I want statements. I want you to not hit your sister. I want you to not climb so high because I'm afraid you'll fall and get hurt. When the behavior is still occurring that you want to shape, use the word stop instead of yelling no. Remember, no is a favorite word for little ones, and it doesn't mean the same thing to them as it does to you. But stop is always stop, and they understand that, and it gets their attention. Give choices when you're dealing with little ones in discipline, and explain to them why you're doing what you're doing. When kids know there's a reason why something is happening, even if they don't agree with it, they are more receptive to the correction. Choices and knowing why gives them a sense of control when they're feeling so out of control. It also helps foster the idea that this is a partnership rather than punisher versus punishee. Kids this age love to ask why, and they do so incessantly at times. I've made a special point with my daughters to always give them a reason they can understand, and this helped my oldest and is helping my youngest. It's helping them grow the ability to self-regulate and self-correct. My oldest daughter now gives herself timeouts when she needs them and tells me about it afterwards. My youngest will make a bad choice, and even though she's not quite 3 yet, she'll come to me and tell me what she did and what she should have done instead and apologize. That may seem hard for some to believe, but I promise you it's true. Model appropriate language and behavior. An example and point I made earlier is if you're frustrated and angry and you slam the door, your kiddo is watching you and they'll slam the door when they're feeling frustrated. But they don't get punished for that, and you'd likely correct them for slamming the door. That sense of injustice to a little one can be uncomfortable and difficult to understand. If you do slam the door, take a deep breath, turn to them, and tell them you're frustrated and you made a bad choice by slamming the door. Tell them what you should have done instead, so they not only see the correct way for managing the emotion, but your self-discipline as well. These young children are sponges, soaking up the world around them, and their most respected and observed teacher is first and foremost their parent. They will emulate what you do and before they emulate anyone else. So remember that. Another key point is that the kiddo needs to be calm enough to hear and process what you're saying to them. Take the picture on this slide as an example. This is not a child who's ready to understand what you're trying to do. Wait until they're calm. This little one is processing so many feelings and sensory information right now that the brain is overloaded without you even doing or saying anything. Comfort them. After they're calm, then you can proceed with the correction. Children this age love rhymes and songs. Use them when making up rules or giving direction. A favorite show in our house for my almost 3-year-old right now is Daniel Tiger. Each show has a 1 or 2 sentence song that can be used frequently to either comfort or correct Daniel. Since kids this age love repetition, we do watch the same shows over and over again, but it helps me learn and remember the songs, and I use them at home. Some other examples of rhyming rules would be share your toys, at least one, or these toys are all done. Or think twice, be nice. Or we are helpful, friendly, and fair. We take turns and always share. By making rules like this rhyme, it helps our little ones remember them. Keep them simple and speak them often to reinforce it. These next slides address methods of discipline that can be used in the classroom, but I feel that they are just as appropriate and effective in the home as well. First, some foundational statements before we move on. The most effective discipline is discipline that is consistent in expectations, application, and enforcement. If you're not consistent, it leaves the child confused about what is expected, and their behavior and choices will show this. Effective discipline comes from a foundation of love and respect. I love that Dr. Seuss says, A person's a person, no matter how small. They deserve respect, even when they're acting out. No from you should always mean no. Otherwise, you're teaching them to test you and to escalate their behavior until the no turns to a yes. If that happens, you've reinforced to the child that that's how you get your way. This happens most often during those dreaded tantrums. If they want a cookie, you say no, they throw a fit, and you give them a cookie, you've just created a monster. They will throw a tantrum every time you say no because that's what you've just taught them. If you keep that up, someday you'll have a teenager throwing tantrums. I hope that puts an image in your minds that make you want to sit up and pay attention on how to prevent that. Ignoring the behavior. This is to be used when the child is not in danger of being hurt or hurting others, but is just generally not following directions or being disruptive. The basic steps of this include moving away from the child, turning your back, and avoiding eye contact. Do not speak to the child and ignore any protests or excuses, because there will be lots of them. Kids love attention, and if the only time they get attention is when they're acting out, they'll keep acting out to hold your attention. If it's safe to do so, ignore it. When my kids would throw the occasional tantrum over something like not putting on their pajamas, I'd tell them I was sorry they were upset, and they could throw a fit if they wanted to, but we would be getting PJs on. I'd turn my head or lay down on the floor and not pay any attention to their fit. A minute or two would go by, but they'd stop the tantrum and get their PJs on. No attention, no reason to act out. Redirecting the child. This technique is most effective when the child wants something they can't have or is doing something they shouldn't be doing. I see this as one of the most effective methods of discipline, although most parents won't feel like it even is discipline. It's getting back to that foundation of discipline being a way to shape behavior and not a punishment. Young children are social creatures, but they're still navigating and figuring out social norms and how to interact with others. They don't know limits and need adult assistance in stopping the behavior. The younger the child is, the more assistance they need. If a child is grabbing another child's toy, stop them from doing so and give them another toy instead, or take them away and distract them with another type of activity. If a child wants to eat cookies right before dinner, tell them why we don't do that in a way that makes sense and redirect their attention to helping you prepare dinner or setting the table. This will help them understand that food is on the way if they're hungry and distracts them from making those unhealthy choices. Natural and logical consequences. I think too many adults are going overboard in protecting our kids from these. We shouldn't protect them from that. It's how the world works, and they're going to be living in the world for the rest of their lives, so let's not cripple their ability to function in it. If they sneak into the cupboard and eat pounds of candy and have a tummy ache, that's a natural consequence. Let them be a little uncomfortable and remind them of that the next time they want seconds and thirds of the Skittles. If they bite their friend out of anger and now their friend won't play with them, help them see the connection and let them play alone for a while to reinforce that if you treat others badly, they won't want to play with you. Experiencing natural consequences teaches self-discipline. If the child makes a mess, they need to be the one to clean it up. If they won't clean it up, then those toys get put away for a while and they can't play with them. As adults, we experience natural and logical consequences, and they are sometimes our best teachers and shapers of our behavior. The same goes for young children, so don't shield them from this. Give positive attention. This may be easier at home than in a room full of acting out kids, but it still holds true. When you see positive choices being made, give verbal and physical praise for that. Give them a hug or a high five. Kiss them. Tell them they're awesome. If a kid struggled with something, was disciplined, and you see them make the more appropriate choice the next time, praise them for it. Show them you recognize their progress and their effort, and you valued their effort to change. Give immediate and specific praise. Kids want to know exactly what they did right. The more positive attention you give for positive behavior, the more likely that child will do positive things to get that attention. And it makes them feel good about themselves. It begins to grow their self-esteem. The technique of thinking time is very similar to the most effective way to manage a timeout. I described the timeout process earlier, so for time's sake, we won't review that. For thinking time, immediately after the poor choice, take the child to a specific area of the home or class and make it comfortable, maybe on the floor with lots of pillows and blankets or a stuffed animal for comfort. Sit down with the child and review their poor choice and what you as the adult observed was happening before the choice was made. Discuss ways that the child could have managed the situation more appropriately and how to make a better choice. Give them options and help them make their own plan for what they should do next time, and let them know that you're there to help if they need it. Be specific, be calm, and use a quiet tone of voice. I'd like to take a moment to address aggressive behaviors in kids. First, we need to keep in mind that all children at this stage are naturally self-centered and are naturally pleasure seekers. Their primary objective is to get what they want when they want it. If it feels good, it must be good. It's all about me, and it's all about what feels good. I come from the system of thought that kids are not born aggressive. They are not naturally mean-spirited or spiteful. They act aggressively in order to get their self-centered, pleasure-seeking needs met. Kids who stay aggressive have learned through time and experience that this is the best, only, or most effective ways to get their kids met. Kids who decrease their aggression are ones who have learned the opposite. That makes these discipline methods we've discussed even all that more important. If we as adults come at aggressive behavior with the understanding that the child is self-centered and trying to seek pleasure, it helps us understand the motivation and colors how we approach it. If a child hits another child to get a toy, calmly intervene and suggest an alternative approach to getting their needs met. Maybe focus on the need to share and how it's much more fun to play together. Maybe you redirect toward another toy. If the child hits again, say stop and tell them why that choice is a bad one. Take them to the thinking area and debrief. Help them see why they were getting upset and form a plan. Help the victim. Pull the victim over to the thinking time spot and help them tell the aggressor that they didn't like being hit. Help the aggressor say they were sorry, and then give them lots of support and encouragement. If they get upset again and don't hit, be sure to catch them making that better choice and offer lots of praise and positive attention. The more positive attention you give to kids, the more likely they are to seek that positive attention by not being aggressive and making positive choices. Caregivers and parents need to work together in partnership to help children this age grow and learn. It can be very confusing for kids to have to navigate different rules and routines at home versus school or daycare. Parents should ask about rules and routines and try to mirror those at home as best they can. If there are rhymes or songs used at school, try to use those at home too. Parents and caregivers should share discipline issues, behavioral observations and goals, and work together. When techniques work, share that. When behaviors change, celebrate that together. Everyone has a role to play because everyone truly cares about the child and wants them to succeed. While it's best to work together as a team, there is a difference. A caregiver's responsibility is to focus on the behavior and let the parents know what they've observed. It's up to the parent to decide when and if to seek additional help. If behaviors are dangerous or escalating, keep the lines of communication open and be specific and based in fact when discussing this with parents. Parents understand that caregivers have a duty to protect many children and have limits on what they can do and change. Caregivers are sometimes more objective than parents are, and rightly so. Caregivers are not seeing the child through parental eyes, but do care about them and their success. If they didn't, they wouldn't be working with children in the first place. Addressing young children's behavior and discipline is best done as a team, but the parent is ultimately responsible for seeing any plans through. Taking care of yourself, whether you're a parent or a caregiver, is so vitally important. Kids this age are a challenge, and it takes energy, consistency, and constant vigilance to keep them safe and healthy. Take time to take care of yourself so that you have the reserves you need to do this job well. This job is hard. Give yourself some credit and give yourself some slack. If you make a mistake, it's okay. You're likely to make a lot of them. Learn from them and role model to your kids what you should have done instead. All kids struggle at one point or another. Sometimes parents and kids need a little extra support or guidance, and often that can come from professional help. Seek it out if your child's behavior is dangerous or doesn't improve after consistently and effectively implementing discipline. The key here is consistently. Seek help if the child seems sad or withdrawn, or you believe their sadness is inappropriate to the situation. Seek help if the same is true with anger or aggression. If you notice that other children are avoiding your child and don't want to play with them, investigate why by asking other parents and caregivers. See this as a sign that your child's behaviors are serious and you should seek help. Be open to the feedback from others and don't discount it. Kids are not naturally vindictive at that stage, and their choice not to play with their child is based on their facts and their experience, as difficult as that may be to hear. Another time to stop and seek professional help is if you, as the caregiver or the parent, are feeling like you might be at risk for hurting your child. If your temper is escalating, or you are punishing rather than shaping behavior, or you just have nothing left to give and you find you're neglecting, seek help. It is available and not a sign of weakness or failure. If you need help, you can go to the military family life counselors on base or call Military OneSource. Help is available 24/7, 365. All you have to do is ask. So some key takeaways from this presentation I hope you'll keep with you include the shift from thinking of discipline as a way to punish to that of shaping behavior. Family rules, limits, and the consistency of enforcing those provide children with a sense of stability. If you've satisfied a child's need for independence and control in healthy ways, they're less likely to challenge you for those things in unhealthy ways. If your discipline and behavior shaping is effective and comes from a foundation of love, it teaches your children, even as young as 2, self-control. Some of the best ways to shape behavior is to let your children experience the logical and natural consequences. Shielding this from this takes away their ability to self-regulate and fosters an unhealthy dependence on you. Effective discipline requires good communication. Communication between you and your child and any other caregivers. If you find yourself ineffective in your discipline, are feeling out of control or unsafe, please seek help. If your child's behavior is overly aggressive or dangerous, or you feel you've done all you can but it's still an issue, seek help. Thank you for joining us today. I hope you found this helpful, and I believe we have some time for some questions if you'd like to pose any.
Thank you, Sarah. We do have some questions that have come in. The first question reads, as a parent, I've watched shows like Super Nanny, and she makes timeouts and bedtime look so easy and so effective. How is that possible?
Well, first, they have the magic of television, and they can edit things out. So we don't have that. They also have the option of not airing a show where it didn't work. But I think really what shows like that illustrate is the importance of consistency and no being no. That super nanny comes into the home, and those kids know that no means no. If you're a parent who wavers and your no sometimes is a yes, or you're not consistent in how you enforce the rules, you've taught the kids to push it. And so things like bedtime, they know that they can push you and get away with it. When something like Super Nanny comes into the home, there's no pushing, and they learn very quickly that it's not worth acting out because they're just going to have their behavior shaped. So shows like that make it look easy, but I think it's really just highlighting consistency of enforcement and consistency of the rules, because that's what Super Nanny does, and kids know that they can't push her.
Great, thanks. Next question reads, can you please explain the difference between mad and angry?
Well, I think mad and angry are very similar. I think what I was talking about in the presentation is mad versus frustrated. So different kids will use different words for similar emotions. But if I'm frustrated, it's because something is not going my way or it's not doing what I want it to. If I'm mad, it's just a different feeling. I'm angry. I have that burning in my gut. It's different from frustrated, although it's on the spectrum maybe of angry or mad. So I like to help my kids figure out maybe that burning in my gut is because something's not going my way versus I have that burning feeling in my gut because I'm mad. And helping them really tease out where that is on the spectrum, because how you deal with being mad versus frustrated, they can be two different things for kids, and it's important for them to know the difference. If something's not going my way, I maybe have a little bit more control by changing how I'm approaching the problem, versus mad, where maybe somebody has done something to me, and I can't control that other person, but I can control my reaction.
Thank you. Next question reads, can you talk about using behavior charts or direct us to where we can find some good resources online?
Well, Military OneSource definitely has some great resources for you, as well as the family life counselors there on base. I would, just do a basic Google search and try to find some charts that work well for you. Something as simple as a little gold sticker on a chart on the wall is a huge motivation for kids, and it really taps into all of that positive attention. The more positive attention and positive things they get out of making the right choices, the more likely they are to make those good choices. There's so many different charts out there. Just find one that works for you and for your kids. I made one myself for my children. They weren't able to read yet. So things like going poo-poo or pee-pee on the potty, on their behavior chart, I found, just a picture from a magazine of a toilet. And I put that up so that they knew that that was the spot where we were going to put stickers for when they went on the potty. Making their bed, I cut out a picture from a magazine of a bed that was made nicely. So you can certainly make your own, and there's lots of resources just on Google or talking to counselors or even teachers at school.
Great. Next question reads, awesome webinar. I've been told that we should not force a child to apologize, but you said to have the child apologize to you for their behavior, if I heard that correctly.
Yes, I think that's important. If they're talking back to you or you're trying to direct them and they try to hit you or try to bite, they do need to apologize for that. That is not appropriate behavior. And apologies can be uncomfortable for that child, but they need to have that logical, natural consequence of feeling that discomfort. They might not apologize to you in the most sincere way or the way that you want them to, but you do need to train them that that's how you resolve conflict. So they need to learn to apologize not only to the parent and caregivers, but that helps them then do that for other children. And they're going to be apologizing to people for their choices the rest of their lives. So let's ingrain that in them now while they're young.
Great. Next question reads, When the teachers have tried all those strategies that you recommended and the child continues to bite and push other children, what do you do then? This is a behavior that has been going on for about 3 months and no improvement.
Biting is such a hard phase. Not all kids bite. Some kids are hitters, but biting is really hard. I would really be paying attention to what is happening before the biting takes place. Is the child frustrated? Are they lonely? Are they just trying to get attention? And try to meet the need that child is biting to get met in a healthier way. Stop that biting process before the bite happens by really observing that kid. But some kids just really struggle with biting. And maybe it's something as simple as giving them like a pool noodle that they can bite instead of another kid or a stuffed animal. If they really have that need to bite and that's the only thing that works, give them something safe to bite. But I would really, as the parent or teacher, focus on what's happening right before the biting takes place. That'll give you some good insight, and then you'll be able to direct your behavioral shaping to addressing that need before and catching it before the bite happens.
Okay, last question. As a child care provider, how do you talk to a parent who is in denial about their child's behavior after you have given resources such as Focus, First Steps, Fleet, and Family kits?
Sure. Unfortunately, parents, their kids can do no wrong and their kids walk on water. And sometimes parents are very resistant to really seeing the kid's behavior. I would really approach that parent as, we want to work together as a team, focus on the consequences of, maybe that child is not going to be welcome in that daycare or school setting if the behaviors continue. Be very matter of fact, very fact-based on what's going on, and ask the parent how you can best, as the teacher, assist them. You do have that barrier. Some parents are just not willing to hear that their kid is acting out, and you really need to come at it from that perspective. We can talk more offline if you can, to talk more about that. That is a very difficult process. But I would also pull in maybe another administrator and to back you up in talking with the parent. I'm sorry you're in that situation. I know that can be very hard.
Well, thank you, Sarah, for sharing your invaluable experience and your personal and professional expertise. I would like to also thank our attendees for participating in our webinar today. If you find yourself having questions after the webinar is over, please email moswebinars@militaryOneSource.com, and I'll get your questions over to Sarah, and she'll get an answer back to you. This concludes today's webinar on effective discipline, ages 2 through 5. Thank you all for attending, and have a great day.